Hello and welcome to CoderzColumn. I am Solanki, and in this video I will explain you how to create interactive charts using Bokeh. We'll be creating charts in Jupyter Notebook. Now before we move on to Jupyter Notebook and create charts, let me give you a small introduction to the library. So what is Bokeh? Well, it's a Python library to create interactive data visualizations like bar charts, scatter charts, line charts, heat maps, and many more. Now the library is built on top of JavaScript, hence all the charts created using it will be visible in web browsers only. Though the library is built on top of JavaScript, you don't need JavaScript knowledge to create charts. You can code charts in Python and Bokeh will create charts using JavaScript behind the scene, so you don't need to worry about JavaScript knowledge. Now Bokeh is a very versatile library. Apart from interactive charts, it can let you add widgets like drop down, checkboxes, buttons, etc. for further interactivity. You can create animations and even dashboards using Bokeh. You can create and deploy wonderful dashboards using Bokeh. It even has a provision to work with streaming data, which is a wonderful feature, and we'll be covering it in one of our upcoming videos. So subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you will be notified of such useful videos. Alright, so that was a small introduction to the library. Now let's move on to Jupyter Notebook and create some charts using it, shall we? Alright, so here we are on my screen. As you can see, I already have Jupyter Notebook open. And at the beginning of the notebook, I have highlighted table of contents showing important sections of the tutorial. We'll be covering three different chart types, which is scatter charts, bar charts, and line charts. So we are covering only three different chart types, but you can create many more using Bokeh. And I will share with you guys some important resources at the end of the tutorial. So let's get started with the coding. So first of all, I have imported Bokeh and printed the current version installed on my system, which is 2.4.3. Now this is the latest and stable version. So if you want to follow along, I would suggest that you also install the same version. Now before create any charts using Jupyter Notebook, we need to call this function, which is available from bokeh.io module. Now what this function will do is that whenever you create a chart using Bokeh, it will display that chart inside of Notebook. Now what happens by default is that if you create chart using Bokeh, it will save that chart in a temporary HTML file and will open it in a new browser tab. So if you are good with that, then you can ignore the call to this function. But if you want to see your chart inside of Jupyter Notebook only, then we need to call this function. Okay, so in order to create charts, we need to load some data. So we'll be using two different data sets for our purpose. The first data set is wine data set. Now this data set is available from Python library scikit-learn, and it has information about different ingredients used in the creation of three different types of wine. So what I have done over here is that I have loaded the data set from scikit-learn and converted it into pandas data frame. So here I am displaying first few rows of the data frame, and as you can see, it has information about various ingredients like alcohol, malic acid, ash, magnesium, and over here we have wine type. So there are three different wine types: class 0, class 1, and class 2. So this is the first data set. The second data set that we will use for our purpose is Apple OHLC data set. Now this data set has information about open, high, low, and close prices of Apple stock from 2019 to 2020. Now I have downloaded this data set from Yahoo Finance as CSV file and loaded it in memory as a pandas data frame. Here I am displaying first few rows of the data set for you. All right. So here I have outlined the steps which we generally follow to create charts using Bokeh. So the first, we call output notebook if we are going to display charts in Jupyter Notebook. Then we create figure object, which is using figure function, which is available from bokeh.plotting module. Then we add glyphs to chart like lines, points, bars, etc. by calling various methods like scatter, line, vbar, etc. on figure object. And at last we call show method, giving it figure object to display the chart. Okay, so that was simple steps which can be used to create Bokeh chart. So let's create our first chart type. So the first chart type that we will introduce for our purpose is scatter plots. Now I will be creating a simple scatter plot showing relationship between two ingredients from our wine data set. So I will create a bar chart that I will create a scatter plot that shows relationship between alcohol and malic acid ingredient. So let's create it. First of all, I need to create a figure object as I have outlined in the steps. So what I will do is I will import figure from bokeh.plotting, and from bokeh.io I will import show method as well. Let me create a figure object. So I have already created figure object. Now we need to call scatter method on figure object in order to create scatter chart. For x-axis I will give it wine df of alcohol, and for y-axis I will give it wine df of malic acid. Now over here I am giving the column and values which are available from dataset to scatter method, and at last we need to call simply show method, giving it figure object. So all right, let's execute this code. And as you can see on my screen, here we have our first scatter plot showing relationship between alcohol and malic acid. So it was that simple to create a chart using Bokeh. Now this is one way of creating chart using Bokeh, where we are giving actual values, alcohol values and malic acid values to x and y axis. There is one more way to create chart using Bokeh. So let me create the same chart. Now another way of creating chart is that we can provide source parameter where we can provide our data set. So I have provided our data set wine df to source parameter, and once we do that, we don't need to give the whole values. We can simply give string where we have specified the column names from that data set. So here I will give strings. For x-axis I will give string alcohol, and for y-axis I have given string malic acid. And as I have set source equal to wine df, it will take values of these columns from that data set. So let me execute this code and show you the result. So as you can see from the result, the chart created over here is exactly same as our previous chart. So as you can see from this chart, here we don't have many things, like we don't have access labels, titles, etc. So let me modify this chart for you and add those labels and few other things. So what I will do over here is that I will first modify the dimensions of chart, which I can do using plot width and plot height method, plot width and plot height parameters. So I will set plot width to 400 pixel, plot height to 400 pixel. I can set title as well, which I will set to alcohol versus malic acid. Okay, for setting title for x-axis, I can use figure.x-axis dot axis label is equal to alcohol, figure dot y-axis dot axis label is equal to malic acid. And let me modify few other things, like let's say I want to use color as tomato for points of the chart. I want to increase the size of points to let's set it to 10, and I want to set opacity to 0.8, and I can set opacity using alpha parameter. And apart from this, all right, let me execute and show you the result. So here we are, here we have another chart. Now this chart is the same as our previous chart, alcohol versus malic acid relationship, but here we have modified the chart dimensions and point size and color as well. And now currently you don't see any values when I hover over any point. So let me introduce tooltips, and I can do that using tooltips parameter. Now to this parameter, I can provide a list where individual values are tuple, and the tuple has two strings. First string is label for the quantity that when we want to display. So if I want to display alcohol, then I will give label as alcohol. And the second entry into tuple is the actual column name from data frame whose value we want to display. So in our case, it's alcohol, and we need to add @ character at the beginning. So this is the format which Bokeh requires us to follow. And apart from alcohol, the second value that I want to display is malic acid. So malic acid is label, and let me modify column name over here, malic acid, and let me execute this cell. And now as you can see, whenever I hover over any point, I can see what is the value of alcohol and malic acid for that point, right? So let me give you a small introduction to the toolbars over here. As you can see, we have few tools that we can use. So the first tool over here is panning tool. So I can select that panning tool, and then I can move points here and there. The second tool is box zoom. So I can select a particular part as a box, and it will zoom into that part. The third tool is wheel zoom. So you can use mouse wheel to zoom in and zoom out. The fourth icon over here is to save chart as a PNG file. So I can click on it and it will save chart as a PNG file, right? And the next button is reset button. So what it will do is that if you have modified chart using one of this tool, then it will reset it to its original state. So here I have clicked on it and it reset it to its original state. And the question mark button over here is when you click on it, it will show you Bokeh docs. And the last tool is hover tool, which is used to show tooltips. So it is currently selected, that's why I'm able to see tooltips. But if I unselect it, then there won't be any tooltip. So you can see. All right, so the first chart that we created was very simple. Let's move on and create one more chart, scatter chart. Now what I will do, the second scatter chart that I will introduce, I will again create a scatter plot showing relationship between alcohol and malic acid. But this time I want to color the points of the chart based on wine type. So we have three different wine types, class 0, class 1 and class 2. And I want to color chart points based on those wine types. So let me modify the code. So what I will do is that I will create a simple for loop which loops through wine types. I can say wine df dot wine type dot unique. What this will do is that it will give me unique wine types. Now over here I will be giving a filtered wine data frame. I won't give the whole wine data frame. I want to give wine data frame for selected wine types only. So I can do that using wine type, and I want to set different colors for different wine types. So what I will do is that I will create a simple dictionary where I have mapping that if it is class 0, then tomato color, class 1, then Dodger blue, and if it is class 2, then lime color. Now over here, when specifying color, I will use the dictionary color mapping of wine. So there we have. So let me execute this, and here we have our scatter charts showing relationship between alcohol and malic acid. But here you can see that we don't have legend and we don't know that which color belongs to which class type. So how I can add legends? I can simply add parameter named legend label and set it to wine type, and this will add legends to our chart. So here you can see that class 0 is tomato, class 1 is dodger blue, and class 2 is lime. So it was that simple to create scatter chart using Bokeh. Right, let's move on to our second chart type. So the second chart type that we will introduce is bar charts. Now Bokeh provides 4 different methods to create bar charts, which is V bar, H bar, V bar stack, and H bar stack. Now V bar and H bar are, V bar is used to create vertical bar charts and H bar is used to create horizontal bar chart, and V bar underscore stack and H bar underscore stack is used to create stacked bar charts. So first I want to create a simple bar chart where I want to see like what is the average alcohol values per wine type. Now in order to do that, I need to create a new data frame from our original wine data frame. What I will do is that I will group the original data frame entries based on wine type, and then I have called mean function on it. So I have average values for all ingredients. So let me execute this code for you and show you the result. As you can see, I have only 3 entries in this data frame, class 0, class 1, and class 2. And I have average ingredient values for all the ingredients. Now I will use this data frame to create our first bar chart. So let me copy some of our previous code to create bar chart so we don't have to rewrite it. So over here I have copied our previous code, and let me remove unwanted parts. So plot width I will keep to 400, plot height as 400. Title will be average alcohol per wine type. For creating bar, I will be using bar method, V bar method, and x-axis will be index. Now what is index values? Index values is 0, 1, and 2. Now on x-axis actually I want to display wine type, but Bokeh does not allow us to specify categorical data as axis value. So I will later on modify the ticker labels for x-axis. Now for height, I need to specify top parameter, which I will set to alcohol, and I can specify width of bar using width parameter, which I will set to 0.8, and source df I will set to average wine df this time. Color I will set to tomato. Size is not a proper parameter for bar charts. Alpha we can set the opacity to 0.8 for bars. For x-axis I will give label wine type. Y-axis I will give label average alcohol. Right, let me execute this code and show you the result. As you can see, we have our bar chart where we have average alcohol values per wine type, but the wine types are not displayed on x-axis. So how can we do that? All right, so in order to do that, we have to add 2 lines of code. First is we need to set tickers. So I will be setting ticker values to 0, 1, and 2 for 3 bars. And then I need to modify labels of this ticker. That I can do using major label overrides attribute of x-axis, and to it we provide a dictionary. So 0 should be mapped to class 0, 1 should be mapped to class 1, and 2 should be mapped to class 2. So let me execute this code. As you can see now on x-axis, so we have our wine type displayed as a string. So it was that simple to create a bar chart using Bokeh. Now let me show you one more bar chart. So this time I want to create a horizontal bar chart. I want to create a horizontal bar chart of same average alcohol value per wine type. So what I will do is that I will use the same code and I will copy it over here. And instead of v bar, we need to use h bar method this time because it's a horizontal bar chart. Instead of x-axis, y-axis will be index, and we need to specify right parameter specifying the length of bars, and instead of width we'll be specifying height of bar, and color will be keeping it to tomato, and opacity to same 0.8. Now this time y-axis value will be wine type and x-axis will be average alcohol, and we'll be modifying tickers of y-axis because wine type will be displayed on y-axis this time. So all right, so here we have our horizontal bar chart, right? Let's move on and create one more bar chart type, which is stacked bar chart. Now I want to create a stacked bar chart, and for that I have selected 5 ingredients from my original wine data frame. So I want to see like what is the average values of this ingredient for wine type, and I want to create a stacked bar chart showing average values of these ingredients. So what I will do is that I will copy some of our previous code and we will reuse it. So let me organize code a little bit, and I will set plot height width to 500, title to average ingredients for wine type. Now in order to create stacked bar chart, we need to use vbar underscore stack method. For x-axis we'll use index, and there is another parameter now named stackers, and we'll be setting that parameter to ingredients, which are our ingredients, and source will be the average wine df, and color we need to specify color for all our ingredients. So we have 5 ingredients, so what I will do, I will provide a list where let's use tomato, lime, dodger blue, orange, and purple. So I have specified 5 different colors for 5 selected ingredients. So x-axis label will be wine type and y-axis will be average ingredients. And all right, so I think this should create a stacked bar chart. Let me execute this code, and as you can see, we have our stacked bar chart ready, but we have one thing missing, which is legend. And we want to see like which color represents which ingredient. And in order to add legend into this chart, we'll be following little different format. We'll be importing legend object from bokeh.models submodule. Now first we need to create legend, and in order to do that, I need to save result of vbar stack into a variable name v. So it's a variable that we'll be using to create legend. We can create legend by calling legend constructor, and we need to provide items parameter, which is list, and individual entries of the list has 2 values. First value is what is the title of that legend. So for first quantity it's hash, and the second will be list, where the value will be v of 0 because we have 5 ingredients, so v of 0 will be referring to hash ingredient, and v is this one reference that we have where we are storing stacked bar chart. Okay, so that was the first one. I will copy it 5 times. Second is total phenols. Third one is flavonoids. Fourth one is U, and fifth one is proanthocyanins. And over here we need to provide for v0 it's v1, v2, v3, and V4. All right, I think we have one extra brackets around. So let me remove those extra brackets. So here we have created legend object. Now we need to add it to figure. What we can do is we can call figure.add layout method, and the first parameter to it will be legend object, and second will be the location. So I want to add it to right side. So you can give location as left, top, bottom, center, and right. So I want to add it to the right side. And all right, let's execute the code. And as you can see, now we have legends as well. So it was that simple to create a stack bar chart using Bokeh. Right, let's move on to our next bar chart type, which is group bar chart. Now I want to create a group bar chart using the same 5 ingredients which we use for stack bar chart. Now how I want to create a group bar chart? I want to see the same average values of these 5 ingredients per wine type, but this time as a group bar chart instead of stack bar chart. So what I will do, I will recopy some of our previous code over here and copy it over here. Now in order to create a group bar chart, what I will do is I will remove unwanted code which won't need it this time. Now instead of vbar stack, we'll be using vbar method, and we'll be using little different perspective this time to create our bar chart, group bar chart. So till now we are providing source data frame. Now this time we won't be providing our source data frame. Instead we will provide actual value to x and x-axis and the other parameters. The reason behind this I will explain you why we are doing it. So let's say, all right, let's ignore x parameter as of now. For top parameter, I want to use wine df of hash. Width will be 0.8. Color will be, let's use tomato. And alpha will be 0.8. And let's use legend label as hash. Now we'll be laying out 5 different bars next to each other. So in that way we need to provide x-axis values. So the first value will start from 0. Then we will have bars for other 4 ingredients which will go to 1, 2, 3 and 4. And fifth one we will leave behind because we want to show little space between the group of bar chart. So I will use 6 for second bar of this quantity hash, and after 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 will be reserved for other 4 ingredients, and 11 will be used for space, and we'll start from 12th one. So what I'm trying to do over here is, let me execute this code and show you result. So okay, not average wine df we need to use over here, that's why we are getting small warning. So as you can see, I have first 3 bars laid over here which are showing average value for ingredient hash for wine type. Now I want to display 5 ingredients, so bars for next 4 ingredients will come next to hash. That's why I have kept indexing like this, 0, 6 and 12. So let me copy this 5 times. Okay, so the second ingredient, let me copy the ingredient names from here. So second ingredient is total phenols. Third one is flavonoid. Fourth one is U. Is proanthocyanins. Let me modify colors. Dodger blue. lime, orange, and purple. Let me modify legend labels as well. Total phenols, flavonoids, hue, and proanthocyanins. Now let's modify the indexes for the second one. So it will start from 1, third one will start from 2, fourth one will start from 3, fifth one will start from 4, and the fifth we have left behind for space between the group of bar. Then 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. 11 is left for space. 12, then 13, 14, 15, and 16. So let me execute this code. As you can see, we have our group bar chart. Now the only thing missing over here is wine type to be displayed on x-axis. So let's do that as well. So in order to specify wine type, I will set ticker in a way that the 0 is this one, and I want to display wine type over here. So 0, 1, and 2. So first ticker will be at 2. Then 5, 6, 7, 8. Second ticker will be at 8. Then 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Third ticker will be at 14. And now I will modify labels 2, 8, and 14. And let me modify the width of chart as well. So here we have our class type displayed on x-axis. So that was a simple group bar chart. So let's move on and create our third chart type. Okay, so the third and the last chart type that we will introduce in our tutorial is line charts. So what line chart we'll create? We will create a simple line chart showing close prices of Apple stock. So let me show you the content of our Apple DF data frame that we had loaded earlier. Sorry, I need to call head. So here we have our Apple data frame, and I'll be creating line chart from this data frame. So let me copy some of our code. We'll be reusing our code as usual, and I will remove unwanted parts. Okay, so we need to create figure object, and title will be Apple close prices 2019 to 2020. And in order to create line chart, we need to use line function. For x-axis we'll set date, because date is the column name where we have date data. For y-axis we'll set close as column name. This time we will again use our source parameter to provide Apple data frame. Width is not useful parameter. Alpha and legend label is not useful because we have only one line. For x-axis I will specify date, and for y-axis I will specify price in dollar, and we don't need ticker for x and y axis. Now we only need to specify one more parameter inside of our figure method, which is x axis type, and we need to set it to date time. The reason behind this is that the date column has data in format date time, and by default x-axis type is continuous, where we can have integer or float values. So if you want to display different data type like date time, then we need to set x-axis date type, x-axis type parameter. So let me execute this code and show you the result. So alright, so here we have our first line chart, and it was that simple to create a line chart. And let me create a one more line chart for you guys. What I will do is that I want to create a line chart where I'm displaying more than one lines. So I'll be using again our line Apple DF data frame. and I will display all the 4 prices we have available over there, which is open, high, low, and close. And let me specify legend label parameter, so we know that which line represents which values. High, low, and legend label is equal to close. So all right, and this one seems fine. Let me execute. Let me modify the color as well, otherwise all will be of same color. Line dodger blue, and for the last one let's use orange. Right, let me execute it. And as you can see here, we have our line chart where all the 4 prices open, high, low, and close are displayed. Right, so that's it. Here is summary of our charts that we covered in this tutorial. If you want to learn more about Bokeh, I would suggest that you visit our website CoderzColumn, and you can simply search for word Bokeh, and it will show you list of tutorials we have on Bokeh. So as you can see, we have plenty of tutorials on Bokeh, how to create maps using Bokeh, candlestick charts using Bokeh, how you can create dashboards using Bokeh, and even how you can add annotations to Bokeh charts and many other things. So if you are interested, then I would suggest that you explore our website. So all right, that's it for the day. And if you liked our videos and if you learned something from this video, then please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and see you next time.